Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We had a gentleman call us and his space station pinball machine is acting up. He wanted to bring it down here and have us fix it. We said, bring it on, buddy. So he brought it down, he dropped it off, and we're going to check it out and see if we can figure out what's going on. Now, he said that it's mainly everything's working, but it has forgotten its settings, which is going to be a battery issue. And that the sound's messed up. So I'll just say from the beginning, he's not a pinball collector, I don't believe, so he's not like he just likes to play the game. He said everything works except that, but we're going to check just to make sure everything works because he might have missed something, not realizing it. But we're not going to completely refurbish the game or anything like that because he basically just wants it to play and make sound again. So we'll probably sneak a few repairs in there that he might not even know about, but we'll tell him later. So let's turn it on and see what it does. I believe it just comes up with a big loud screech. So get your ears ready. It might screech. Now on these, you know, it tells you a little information on the LEDs usually. Whoo, told you about your ears. Whoa, whoa. That's pretty wild. So it is loud. I don't know if he just likes playing it really loud or if it's messed up. Let's see if we can get into the test mode and see if it will come up and do anything, or if I can turn it down or anything. See if any of these keys fit the front door. Front door has been opened. Okay, so volume. There's a volume knob up in there. Okay, so hear the hiss. So that humming is definitely a problem, but the hiss was just where it was turned way up. So if it says adjust failure, if you open the door, you've got these three buttons here. One says high score reset, one says auto up, manual down, and one says advance. I don't ever remember if you want auto up or manual down. I think you want auto up to go into settings. Manual down, I believe, is the test. But let's go into settings first. Well, yeah, the sounds like crap. Factory setting, you just hit advance and it'll advance through all of the audits and the adjustments. It basically, since the batteries have died, it's just reset all of its settings. When you get to the end, it should go into a track mode. Boy, it is humming. Looks like most of the stuff is working. Might be a few light bulbs out. Boy, that damn hum is crazy. Alright, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to take the back glass off and see how bad our battery situation is, what the batteries look like, and if there's anything obvious making the hum. So you turn the key, it's a Williams System 11, and then you can just lift up on the translate and get her out of there. Well, that hum is loud, people. Ooh, so we got a leaky battery. That sucks too because I don't have an NVRAM module. They make a little chip you can put in that makes it where you don't need batteries, but the guy I get them from doesn't have the, can't get a hold of the parts right now. Got a shortage going on. Alright, so this is the soundboard up here. It seems like it's attached pretty good. Right, and it's the power supply here. Seems like it's all screwed in pretty good. You also sounds created in this section. Sometimes when you got that big hum, it's because there's a screw missing or something, but I see one missing, but it seems like it's in there pretty good. It's calming down a little bit, but that's interesting. It's really loud and then it calms down. So we'll have to see about that. But I think the first thing I'll do is we'll work on this battery problem here. So I'm going to pull out this main board, and let's see what we can do about those batteries. That's an obvious first place to start. Okay, folks, so here is the famous Williams System 11 pinball board. They basically combined all kinds of stuff on one big huge board. So you have the there's the CPU, it's a 6802. This, I believe, is the RAM that we're talking about. Let me see. It is a TC5516AP2. So that's the RAM that the batteries are sending voltage to retain settings and high scores. These are the main ROMs. Okay, so this is your CPU here. Okay, and then you've got the battery section. This is the reset section. So basically, when the board boots up, there's a pin on the 6502 that wants to be held below for a while and then go high, so that they make sure that everything kind of starts at the same time and the power is steady. This is the reset section. This is the sound section. Like, I think it's confusing. One of them does background sound, and the other one does like call-outs and speech and things like that. I think this is the background sound section, but they may switch some. So like music and stuff may be done on this. So you get two sound ROMs, a sound RAM, and a sound CPU, 6502. These are P6821s, which are PIAs, peripheral interface adapters, which the 6502 uses to communicate with inputs and outputs. You have a couple switches here. These are the solenoids, so all of the coils in the game. Okay. These are the switches, the switch rails, you know, and of course what I mean is that these control the solenoids. These control the switches. These control all of the lamps in the game, but not the general illumination. The general illumination is just on when the power's on. So these are the switched lamps. And so a pinball machine, you know, has 100 lamps on it or whatever. And then this up here are the special solenoids. We've talked about those a few times. They're basically solenoids that... oh, there's another little thing. They're basically solenoids that don't need to talk all the way to the CPU to turn on. So some solenoids, like let's say the ball lands in a lock, and then there is a coil to shoot the ball back out of the lock. Well, the way it works is the ball lands on a switch. The switch wires through the switch matrix, goes through the PIA, and talks to the CPU. The CPU then talks through the other PIA, which might be this one or something, and tells the solenoid to kick it out of the saucer. So the thinking was that takes too long, because basically, now I'm not obviously an expert at this, but the timing basically. So this is a switch strobe, so it takes it a second. I say a second colloquially or whatever. Right? It's not actually a second, but it takes it a slash of time to read the switch. So it takes it a little bit of time for the switch to actually physically connect, and then it takes a little bit of time for it to strobe through and notice that it's connected, and then it takes it a little bit of time to compare that with whatever software program it's running. What should we do if that switch connects? And then it takes a little bit of time to tell the solenoid to kick the ball out of the hole. So there's like a timing thing. So if you have a switch that you want it to react immediately, these may not be the most effective. So they decided to use these special solenoids, they called it. So on something like a pop bumper, for instance. Now I don't know for sure that it's the pop bumper is one of them, but you can see where if the ball hits the switch, you want it to immediately fire. You want it to really quick. So what it does is the ball hits the switch, which is connected to one of these solenoids, so it turns it on itself and immediately fires the solenoid. So instead of the switch going through the switch matrix to the CPU, getting analyzed, and then it telling the solenoids to fire, the switch itself tells the special solenoid to fire. So it's just kind of a shortcut. And then you also have the displays. The displays are up here where you see all this kind of burnt looking stuff. So this is a decoder, 74154, and it comes from this PIA here. I think both of these run it as well. 2 or 3 of them run the actual displays. This one may do the other, there's something weird there. Basically, they made the board so whenever this came out, it was around the time that alphanumerics were kind of changing a little bit. So it's got some functionality that not all of the games use. I'm trying to remember what the big change was. I think when it started, they had 2 sets of alphanumerics and 2 sets of just numerics. And then they changed it to where all 4 of them could do alphanumeric, something like that. I don't know. But the board could handle all of it. But here's the thing. Okay, the batteries are right here in a battery holder, and these 2 PIAs, I think it's these 2 and this one, run the displays. This is the connector to the display, and this is the connector to the soundboard. Now the connector to the soundboard, you can see the traces run down this way, and you can see the connector to the display, the traces run down this way. They run right underneath the battery, so if you get a bunch of corrosion damage, it screws up the displays first. But it may have also screwed up the sound, I don't know. But I'm thinking that we got lucky enough where it didn't damage anything. It looks pretty minor. So the best way to do it now is you can replace this RAM with an NV RAM, non-volatile RAM. So it's one that doesn't need a battery to save the settings. So you can take this out, put a socket in, and then put that NV RAM in there. Never need no batteries again. But the guy I get them from, he's out of them right now because there's some special thing he needs for it, and there's like a worldwide shortage because of global supply chain crap, you know. So you can't get it right now. So I don't have any of those in stock right now. I could order one from somebody else, but we're trying to fix this tonight, right? I think what I'm going to do is it the old way. So the old way to do it is you take the battery holder off and you just remove it from the board, and then you run 2 wires and you mount a remote battery holder off the board, right? So we're going to do that. So it's not as good as the NV RAM, but it's a little better than this. So we're moving forward. Maybe the next time the gentleman brings it back, we'll put the NV RAM in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this and let's look under it and see how bad the damage is. Hopefully there's none. Keep your fingers crossed, people. I need your help on this one. Okay, so we got lucky. There was no damage to the board at all. I cleaned it up a little bit. There was a little bit discolored, so I cleaned it up a little bit, and then I filled the holes in with solder. The reason I do that is just so that if somebody looks at the board, if there's solder in the holes, they can just kind of tell that someone did that on purpose, you know, that there's not something that fell off the board or something. This is where the positive lead ends up. So it connects through the battery, which has a trace on the back, you can see right there, to here, through the battery, and then another trace on the back, and then that's where the ground connects. And that's just how these things were designed. So I have mounted 2 wires on a long lead, and then it comes down to this little thing, little battery holder. Now, why does it have 4 spaces when we only need 3? It's because, like I said, this is old school stuff. If you buy a 4 one, you can put a diode in here for a board that needs a blocking diode. So, for instance, if you're putting it in a Bally, one of their early boards, the Dash 35 or the Dash 17, they had a rechargeable battery on it. So you need a blocking diode on it. So if you buy a 4-position one, you could put your 3 batteries in and then have them run through a blocking diode before it goes to the board. On a System 11, you don't really need that because this is the blocking diode. It's already got one. And the purpose of that is so that when the board is at 5 volts, it doesn't try to recharge AA batteries. So now we've got two diodes, which won't hurt anything, but it'll lower the voltage a little bit, which is fine because the chip wants about 3 volts and we've got 4.5 volts here. So it'll be just fine. But it'd be better if you had a 3-position one because then you could mimic exactly what was on the board. But this will work great. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look into the sound and see if anything up here is still used to amplify the sound or anything like that. See these capacitors missing here? Those will be a prime candidate for what might be making that hum, but they're not there because they don't use it on this version of the board. So I don't think there's any capacitors that really have anything to do with the sound, but we'll check to make sure. So we're looking at the schematics. Now keep in mind the sound's working, it's just it's got a big nasty hum in it. So this is on the CPU board. This is where the volume control plugs in. Okay. And then one of the connectors goes to ground and then goes up through a transistor. And then you have this cap, which, since it's in line, this might be, if you ended up missing the sound, this might be a good one to look at. C8. Okay. Let me come over here to a 1458. I've seen that in sound sections before. I have no clue what it is. We're just looking for basically electrolytic caps that might make it have some kind of ground thing going on. Here's one connected to ground, but it's not an electrolytic. Here's a C15. Also is in line, where basically information goes through it. I also don't believe that would be it, but we might replace it just for the giggles. And then here we have C9, which is an electrolytic, and it's 0.1 microfarad. So we may change those 3, but I don't think that's going to fix it. I think the problem's going to be on the other board or on the power supply. So let's see if we can find C8, C9, and C15. So here's the sound section. I think this is an 11C board, I believe. Not sure. I think it's an 11C. So it had 11, then 11A, then 11B, then 11C, or something like that. This was, I think, the last revision of it. So the earlier revisions actually had the sound amp right here on the board because this did all of the sound. But then they decided to put the extra board that we saw to help with the sound, and the amplification's done on it. So if these caps were here and it was using this sound amp, that would almost certainly be where your problem is. So like a System 11, an earlier board than this, that might be your problem. But here we have C8. There's C15. I don't see C9. C9, where are you? You would think it would be near C8. Here it is, C9. Yeah. See, that's a ceramic cap anyway. That's not going to go bad. Knock on wood. I think what I'll do is I'll change these 2 electrolytics just in case, and then we'll pop it in the machine. I don't think that will fix the sound, and then we'll pull the soundboard out and work on it. But I think these won't do much, but we'll swap them while we have the board out just in case. There's other stuff you can do. You can check all the transistors and stuff, but according to the customer, everything's working. What do you think about that? You might be wondering, what is this damaged looking stuff there? It's because of these resistors run real hot. This is for the lamp circuit. They get some heat going. You can see this is not really heat damage, it's smoke damage. So these haven't really gotten hot, they've gotten smoke on them. These have definitely gotten hot. All right, so I'll swap those two capacitors, and then we'll put it back in and see if it still boots up, if it will save the settings, and then we'll mess with the sound. Screwed it all back in, put all the connectors back on. I believe I got them all where they go. Now, the loud sound again. It sounds better. Oh, yeah, the hum's gone. The crazy humming is gone. Well, let's see why that was. Okay, so we're going to go into the settings, and we're going to set it on free play. Okay, somewhere there is a setting for free play. There we go. So when you get to the one you want to change, hit the start button. Okay, and that's all we need to do. Hum's back. The hum is back. I didn't think that would fix it. All right, so we've got it on free play now. So let's turn it off. We'll let it sit for a second. Yeah, we're going to pull this board out next. Look, we got some caps here we can swap. I think that might have more to do with our hum. And if not, we can move over here to this power supply. But I don't know. It looks like it's been capped. Matter of fact, I might have capped it. Look how, see the radials instead of axials? That's one of my signatures. We've known this customer for years, so that we may have worked on this in the past. By signature, I'm not saying that I'm proud of that. I'm just saying that I never have the axials when I need them. Okay, we're going to turn it back on and see if it comes up in audit mode, or if I've got the door open. I don't know if that will mess it up. Let me shut the front door. On some games, it will come up in test if the front door is open. I don't know if System 11 games are like that or not. So we're going to act like it's in somebody's house. The door is locked, and they go, people yelling outside. And they go, "Hey, Mary Beth, let's go play the pinball machine." And she goes, "Oh, sure, Tom." And they go downstairs and they turn it on, and this happens. Climb right up in free play, but it's humming something horrible. But I think we fixed the setting thing at least. Okay, well, we got to do it. Let's pull the damn soundboard out of it. I think that's next. There's no way around it. I'm going to pull it out. We'll put it on the board. I want it on the table and check it out. So here's their cute little soundboard. Now, where we were looking at the schematics where it said volume control, it actually, instead of plugging the volume control into the CPU, you plug a little jumper that goes from there up to here. So it kind of off-sources it. And then the volume control plugs in here. Okay? So you've got, let's see if we can identify any of this stuff. You've got a YM3012. That always means Yamaha. So I don't know what that's for. But you can bet it's something with sound, especially since we're on the soundboard. Got a big crystal here. Are you interested in knowing what speed it runs at? 3.57. It's a 3.57 KDS, whatever that means. 3.57 though. The CPU is a 68B09. By the way, the B is important apparently. So 6809, the B has something to do with that clock, that crystal we were just looking at, I believe. One needs the crystal and one doesn't, or something like that. And then you have the 6821 PIA chip, peripheral interface adapter. Yamaha 2151. Boy, that's a great little chip there. Now, I'm not a big audiophile, so I don't know too much about them. But we were working on a Street Fighter pinball machine, and this chip was used in it as well. It must be used in all kinds of stuff. But this chip was bad in that one, and so you were missing all of your background sounds. So I think we just solved the mystery about which board makes the background sound. It has to be this one because of that synth chip there. YM2151. Again, stands for Yamaha. Okay. Got a regular little 2016 RAM chip. The ROM we have no idea we have no idea what size, but probably a 2764. '74, 175, '74, 139, 138, 7410, 74, 74. Ooh, another crystal. Interesting. Well, what's this one for? I don't know. 7404. And then that's a 1458, like it was showing in the schematics. Another one. And another one. That has something to do with... I think I've heard those called switches, and they're always in sound sections for some reason. I think, I might be wrong, but they may even be on Pac-Man. I may be wrong about that. MC1408, I have no clue. And then two little, I'll bet those are TDA 2002 amplifiers. What I'll do is I'll pull a couple of those caps off and we'll get down there where we can see them. So if you don't work on stuff like this very often, a lot of times if you start getting bad sound or a hum or something, it's because these capacitors that they use to filter some of the stuff have dried out, and so you're getting junk on the sound. So the speakers plug in or come out right there. And if you look on the back, they are joined together. So they're jumpered. There's two lines out. Jumpered to two other lines out. And then you see these two lines. One of them runs from this capacitor, and one of them runs from this capacitor. Okay. And the capacitor is tied directly to the amp. So, very cool. Alright, so I'm going to replace, what have we got here? I'm not going to worry about these. I'm going to replace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 electrolytic capacitors. It could be these, but I think it's more with the amplification. And since the volume control plugs in here, these might come into play. Let's see. I would love to find one that's just tied to ground. Maybe that would do have something to do with it, but I can't really. Yep. Bigger than hell. This one is tied. Yep, tied to ground. Okay. This one is tied to ground. And this one is tied to ground. So I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say it's one of those three, but I don't know. We're going to do all of them. So let's see what kind of amp that is. So it is, in fact, a TDA 2002. So I'm just going to leave it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It could be the reason there's a hum. You can replace these with a TDA 2003, but you can't replace them with a TDA 2020 or a TDA 2030. Now, isn't that confusing? So it can be a 2002 or a 2003. I think the 2003s are a lot easier to get now, and they're a little bit better part, and they are like 30 cents or something like that. They're real cheap. So, cool little board. All right, let me replace the capacitors. Okay, so I swapped them all. Very, very simple. These three appear to be on the power rails. So that, whatever voltages this uses, if one of those was tripping, they are 100 microfarad, 35 volt. All right. So we'll try that in a minute. But I wanted to show you something. Check this out. You might enjoy this. This is the first Williams soundboard for their pinball machines and their video games. So this is the board that was in Defender, some of the Defenders, and this is the board that was in things like Flash and Trizone, and I don't know about Trizone, Flash, and a lot of those early Williams pinball machines. So you've got a, well, I probably can't tell what the CPUs are. I don't remember off the top of my head. They used Motorola part numbers sometimes, so it's hard to tell. Oh, that's a 6802. Okay, so it's a 6802, and then you have the famous 6821 again. And that is the ROM. Am I right about that? No. Yes, I am right about that. I don't know what they used for RAM. How does that work? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, there's your ROM. So this is the first one that they used in their pinballs and their arcade games. Someone has mounted that there. I don't remember them all having that, but maybe. Maybe. Okay. Then there was an upgrade. This was their second one that they used. So this is in stuff like Sinistar and Joust, the arcade games. And then it's also in things like Black Knight, stuff like that. Okay. So if it was a game like Joust, it would just use this board. But if it was a game like Sinistar, and he had to say, "I hunger," they needed speech. So they had a little speech attachment board, which is this. And so there was a little connector that went here. And this was the speech board. I don't know what this one's from. You could probably tell by those numbers. It says 5T-5001. If I Googled that, it would probably tell me. But this is the speech board. Okay. So again, for the arcade games and the pinball machines. But then, you know, they stopped making arcade games for a while. Williams, at least. And eventually Williams and Bally merged. Okay. And were no longer competition. So then, you know what came out? Eventually. Are you ready for it? This is the Mortal Kombat soundboard. But before the Mortal Kombat soundboard, you know what came out? Space Mission pinball machine. So this would have been after these, you know. So late 80s. But before Mortal Kombat. NBA Jam, I think, has this same soundboard. But they share similarities. So volume control, power, signal from the main board, ribbon cable. One of these is power and one's volume control. Same kind of setup, really. I mean, if you look, it's literally the same connectors. Look. 6-pin connector for the power, 3-pin connector for the volume control, and then a 4-pin connector for some kind of pass-through, I guess, from the main board. And the ribbon. Okay. They use the same types of electrolytic axial capacitors, those famous ones with the blue film on them. They use the same chokes. Pretty cool, huh? And then you know what they came out with? Mortal Kombat 2, a little more complex. They added more ROM sockets so that they could do more. So same thing. Blue caps, chokes. The connector is a little bit different, but it also has a ribbon cable connector. And by this time they were using these I don't know what they call these. The big square chips. Are those called PLCs or something like that? But it's kind of cool just seeing Williams' evolution of soundboards. There's one of the first ones. Beat all to hell. And then there's as of Mortal Kombat 2. Okay, so we'll go pop this back in the machine and see if we got rid of our hum or if it's something on the power supply. All right, we're back installed. The volume one goes on the bottom and the pass-through one goes on the top. Let's see if that fixed our hum. Sounds awful quiet, but we've been tricked like this before. We're going to have to give it a few seconds. Now the hum you're hearing, you're going to have a little bit of it. I'm talking about the loud loop that we had earlier. This is just pinball hum here. You want that. I don't know. I think that might have done it. You know what? I think the best way for us to tell is if we set up the camera on a tripod and we play it a little bit. Because I got to test it. I got to test it and see if there's anything else messed up on it. So let's play it a little bit and see if the sound is acceptable. Okay, folks, I cleaned up the glass, took it off, and noticed a couple issues. So we're going to have to order some parts for it. But I figured I'd show you what it was, and then we'll do another video where we do the repairs that I figured out. So first of all, there were a couple light bulbs burnt out, so I went to change those. And then I noticed that the 3 pinballs weren't in it. There were only 2 pinballs in it. There was one stuck way up.
Roger, Liberty. You're looking good. Do you copy?
Let's hear it for Yamaha's 2151 chip. It's a damn good chip, if you ask me. I think the sound's fixed. Up here at the top, there's a popper that there's parts missing from and stuff. So the ball was stuck up in the hole. So, you know, the customer told us that everything was working fine. Now, is he trying to deceive us or something? No, of course not. It's just he probably doesn't realize that there's stuff on it that doesn't work. So remember, I mentioned that at the beginning. It's usually like that. Almost every time somebody brings us a game, there's more wrong with it than they realize even. That particular one with the ball up there, the game won't even start though. So it's been, I'll bet it's been giving them trouble for a while. So I don't know what happened to the piece, but the whole top of the popper's missing. So what I did was I put a paper towel down in the hole so the ball can't get stuck in it. And then I played it a little bit and I noticed some other stuff. So,
These doors are open.
So we'll play it a little bit, and you tell me what you notice is wrong, and then we'll do another video where we fix it, because I have to order the parts for that popper at least, right? So let's see.
We have ignition.
So I got 3 balls in it now. Nice pop bumpers. Okay, did you see that? Up at the top left, there are 3 drop targets right here that aren't up. See the drop target here?
These doors are open.
So that's up there where the rag is. I don't think the kickers are working either. Kicker's not working. See, the kicker Less cheap. All the switches seem to be fine. That's not working. I'm trying to get up to the lock. Come on now. Come on now. That the ball's up there, but it can't kick it out of that other popper. Right? The popper's never kicking. Another thing, I'm not sure all the flashers are working. So we got some issues, people. So, unfortunately, it's working, yeah, but you're not going to be able to play it like this. I mean, the ball keeps getting stuck. And that's with, look, we got another light out. That's with the one thing blocked off. So neither one of the kickers are working right. I mean, the poppers are working right. The rebound kicker's not working right. The slingshots don't seem to be working right. And the 3 drop targets are working right. But besides that, everything's working perfect. All right, so we'll do another video where we fix all of it. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for working on the sound. That was cool, wasn't it? We're about halfway there, folks. It's all good. It's all gravy, baby. Don't worry about it. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for filming it for you. We didn't have to do that. We're bringing you along so you can ridicule us and mock us like people have been doing lately. I won't name names, but we appreciate you watching. Let us know what you think so far, and we'll film another video whenever we get the parts in. It'll just be a couple days. In South Carolina, we order from Marco Specialties a lot of the time because they're down in Columbia, so they can get us stuff here in like 2 days usually. So it's no big deal. And make sure to check out my brother Donnie. If you don't know about that, my brother Donnie here on YouTube, he's literally my brother, has his own channel. If you like watching us work on these old arcade games and pinball machines, you may like watching us work on, listen to those relays. That don't sound right. Might have to look into that too. If you, my brother Donnie and I have bought a couple buildings in a small town near here that we're working on. We have some older buildings that we bought that were dilapidated. Basically, we're fixing them up, trying to help revitalize the town. So make sure to check that out. And we'd like to thank everybody that's been. That relay's driving me crazy. Sounds like it's the flipper relay. But the flippers aren't coming on. What else would be on a relay? Sometimes the general illumination is, but it's all on. We'd like to thank everybody that's been using our links to Amazon. If you don't know about that, down below there is a link to Amazon. If you buy anything from, there's another kick out over here I never checked. If you buy anything from Amazon after going to our link, through our link, it gives us a tip. So a lot of people have been doing that. We appreciate that. Somebody bought a GoPro on there earlier. That's pretty cool. But people buy little stuff on there all the time, so we appreciate it. Let's figure out what relay it is. What do you think? Let's go see which relay it is. It's D23, Relay 1 on the power board. It's tripping. Now there's a relay over here. That is the GI relay. I saw it go off and it's working good. And then this is the flipper enable relay. It's working good. You saw us playing the game. But that one is tripping. So, I don't know what that's at. We'll look it up in the schematics though. Give us plenty to work on next time. So I hope you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up. We'll see you on the next video. Click. 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 Click.